Welcome to Jimbo's Garage.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Jimbo's Garage. Well, today's video, we're going to be making a gate. I know it's been a while since we've done a gate here on the channel, and I do kind of miss it a little bit. But this is a nice little simple gate. It's a man gate, about 4 feet wide, about 6 feet tall, and it's going to have the equal size side panel to it, about 4 foot by 6 foot. We're going to be using some 2-inch square tube, 0.63 wall thickness, which is about 1/16 of an inch thick. And I'm going to mix it up a little bit with the pickets on the inside. We're going to be using some 1-inch square tube and some 5/8 square tube. We're going to be alternating those. We're matching something that's existing on the site. The side panel is going to be mounted to the house and to a concrete surface, and that's going to provide rigidity for the latching system. The gate is going to be attached to a post that's going to be mounted to a block wall, and that's going to provide rigidity for the hinging system. This will be a great little project. I'm going to take you through it step by step. Let's get started on today's video. All right, so what I've done is I've sketched up a little bit of a drawing and some material lists here. Now I know I mentioned I was using some 2-inch square tube, but I changed this up at the last minute. We're going with some 1.5-inch square tube. Now you can use just about anything. This is 1.5 inch is kind of a common size for a simple 4 foot to 6 foot single gate. All right, so the first thing I like to do is to make all my cuts. I like to cut my frame to a 45-degree angle and all the way around. It just makes for a cleaner fit for me that way. You can see that I'm operating off my new Champion Brute Platinum RZR here. This blade has been really good so far. I've had no complaints with it. Super sharp. Ran a couple hundred cuts through it, and still doing pretty good. You know, there's other ways of doing frames. So a lot of people just butt them together. A lot of people, you know, they may just weld it together and not grind any welds down. I like to just do it this way. Everything on a 45. Weld them together, grind the welds down. Just makes for a clean fit and finish. A good job after it's painted or powder coated or whatever you choose to do. Important thing here to do too also is when you make your cuts, just you can see that I've got my flap disc there, and I'm just deburring the edges. And what that does is that makes it nice for a nice tight fit when you go to join them together. Well, you see right here that I'm just pre-marking. I've got to drill some holes in here, some 1/2-inch holes. The hinging system that I'm using is something that's existing, and I don't typically use this type of hinging system, but you'll see a little bit later on what that's all about. It requires drilling a 1/2-inch hole through the frame here, and I thought I'd get this out of the way before I assemble the frame. You can see that I've got it set up in my mill, and I've got a couple of jacks to the side that is holding it up on the end. You know, that's something that I took into consideration when I put my mill in place, so I could do have some large stock if I needed to out the end and be able to support it. All right, so I'm just fastening everything down with fixture clamps, and we're firing up the HTP ProPulse 220 MTS right here. Like I said, this is some 0.63, which is about 1/16 of an inch thick. I like to run my wire feed speed at about 250 inches a minute here. I'm using 35 thousandths wire. You can see how easy it is. If you're fortunate enough to have a welding table or a flat surface like this, with the fixture clamps and the table dogs, just clamping everything down, you can get a frame put together like this in just no time at all. You can almost guarantee that it's going to be perfectly square every time. Speaking of square, you can see that it's always a good idea before you completely weld everything out is to check for square, and you can do that with a tape measure from diagonal to diagonal. As long as they read the same, you know that you're perfectly square. So I just put the welds right here on the very top and the sides as much as I can anyway, and then I'm just taking my angle grinder with a flap disc, and I'm going to grind those welds down so when I undo this and flip it around to the other side, I'll have a nice flat surface and the gate frame will fit nice and flat. And I'm just going to clamp everything down, I should say, and go ahead and just do the finish welding. All right, when you get that done, I'm just going to slide the frame off the end of the table right here, and this is going to allow me to do the finish grinding. I'll be able to get both the top and the corners here by just doing that. You know, and I do get a lot of people say, hey, you know, when you're bothering the integrity of the frame by grinding the welds down. I've been doing this for years, and I've never had, as far as I know, I've never had a gate fail. This is some pretty thin wall material, and so I'm getting some good penetration. All right, so a lot of times, even after the flap disc, I like to take a non-woven pad like that and give it a quick little brisk, and that definitely smooths things up and keeps a nice smooth finish. All right, this is the bottom part of this gate. This is a matching piece, 1.5-inch square tube, and you can see that I've used a 2x4 spacer there. I've got it marked at 4 inches. You can see that. You know, I hang on and to all my wood drops. I've got all different thicknesses and sizes for all different applications. You can see here I've got some 3/8 pieces I use for the 5/8 tubing right here that I'm going to be putting in the middle, and just to get that propped up to the middle of the frame. All right, so now it's time to move on to the pickets, and I did mention that we're going to be using a couple of different sizes right here. You can see this is a 1-inch square tube, and I've got them stacked 4 at a time right here, and that's no problem. And these are the 5/8 pickets, and I've got 6 at a time stacked in right here. You know, making multiple cuts like this, it just saves a lot of time. All right, with those all cut up, you can see that I'm just placing them in here. Now, this is the pattern that is on the existing fence. You can see I've got a 5/8 on the end, then I've got 2 1-inch pieces, then 2 5/8 pieces, then 2 1-inch pieces, and another 5/8 piece. That just happens to be the pattern that they're going with, and like I say, I'm trying to match what's existing. You can see how I've got the spacers in there. Again, those are 4-inch spacers, and then also the little spacers that are holding it up. You can see on the 1-inch they're a 1/4 inch, and then the 5/8 I've got 3/8 of an inch, and that gets those pickets really close to the center of the frame. You know, I had a lot of people, you know, I know there's formulas for all of this stuff and getting the pickets where they need to be. This is just the way I've done it forever. It's old school. I've had good success with it, so I'm just going to stay with it. Sometimes you just can't change things. And in this case, you know, I'm double checking right here to be sure that I'm going to land on my mark, and unbelievably, there was no adjustment. They're exactly 4 inches apart all the way through right there, and that's rare. That doesn't happen all the time. I got pretty lucky on this one. All right, so now that I've got them all tacked in on one side, it's time to go ahead and go all the way around. You know, that's a good habit that I like to do is weld all the way around completely. You know, I see a lot of these frames that are pre-made at the big box stores or wherever. Maybe you can get them online. They're just welded in a couple of places, you know, and that just allows you know, pockets for rust or something to happen if you know, it's just not a good finish. You know, welding all the way around just makes for a really good job and a good finish. You know, you get your settings right on the machine, and it's really no problem. You know, you just lay it right in there, and it just seals up real nice. Now this is the other end of the gate, and I'm just finishing that up as well. All right, so there's the gate. I'm just going to set that aside, and then this is the side panel. It is almost the exact same size. I believe it was just a 1/2 inch difference, and so I'm following the same exact procedure. And you might see right there that I run the legs a little bit long on the end right there, a couple of inches long. I'm going to be putting some flat plates on there, and that's going to be used to anchor this side panel to the concrete surface. You see me double checking for square again. That's a good practice to get into. And then just welding as much as I can out on this flat side. When I got everything cranked down on the table like this with all the fixture clamps, it's not going anywhere. If you didn't have that, it might not be a good practice to weld as much as you can. It might be a good practice just to tack everything together and then double check for square to be sure that you're square. But with all these fixture clamps and everything tightened down, it stays pretty flat and pretty square. All right, I'm kind of speeding along right through here because it is the same process, but you can see it's just a little bit different angle. Again, the pickets, I'm just doing the same procedure, just tacking everything into place. I'm just finishing up the welding all the way around. You can see I'm having to jump from one side of the table to the other. And then I've got it stacked up, and you can see I've got a fab block square right there, and I've got it attached to that because I couldn't attach it to the table because you can see that it is off the table, and I've got a little plate underneath the bottom right there. And so this was a good way for me to secure that table in the vertical position up, or I should say the upright position, while I'm welding things out. All right, here's that flat plate I'm talking about. Now this is a 4-inch square plate, and it's got some 3/8 holes, about a 1/2 inch in from each corner. And I'm going to weld this plate on here, and then that is how I'm going to anchor the side panel to the concrete surface. You know, sometimes you just can't get in a comfortable position. You can see I've kind of held the gun up on an angle right there. You just got to kind of do what you got to do to get it done. All right, so these are tabs that I'm going to put on both the top and the bottom on this one side of the side panel. Now these tabs are going to be what I'm going to use to anchor it not only to the ground with the flat plates, but these tabs are going to allow me to anchor to the wall that's existing right there, and that's what's going to hold the side panel securely in place. Grind those welds down so it'll stay nice and flat against the wall. And while I had everything cranked down and held into place, I thought it'd be a good idea to not disturb that, and I'll be able to get up on top of my welding table right here and put a couple of tabs on the very top. Kind of tricky right here. Couldn't quite get around that side. One more step to the right and I would have fallen off the table. But I took care of what I could right here, and then once I got off the table, I got on a little ladder, and I was able to get up there and catch that last weld. All right, just grind it flat. And there's the two frames right there, the gate I should say, and the side panel, and they're all complete. Now this is the latching system. Again, it's a very simple system. This is pretty commonly found at your local big box stores. Most gates, simple gates, have this same type of latch system here. You can see that the one side was hanging off the edge of the frame a little bit. I thought it would be a cleaner job if I put a little tab right there, a little something for that post to sit on. I just welded that in and then just ground it flat right here. And now you can see that post sits right on there really nice. Just be sure you get everything lined up nice and square, and then I just tack everything in place, be sure that things don't move around. You do have a little bit of adjustment after it's hung into place. You can actually bend that rod up or down a little bit in either direction to line up that latch if it doesn't quite line up. But just a simple little gate latch. All right, we're moving on to the posts right here. Now, I like to put ends on my posts, caps, whatever you want to call them. And then I just like to grind them smooth. I like to make them look like it's a solid piece all the way around. I do that on the top. I leave the bottoms open. That's just the way I do it. Sometimes when I attach these posts, I have to drill holes to the face and put anchors through there, and sometimes I leave the bottoms open. In this case, it's getting a flat plate on the bottom. So it doesn't matter, and we're anchoring it a little bit differently here. It's going to be into the concrete and then the tabs into the wall. Just got it spaced up so it's nice and even in the center of the plate. Weld everything around. All right, so here's the hinging system I was talking about. It's just a 1/2 inch bolt. These are pretty common back in the day, and this was what was existing, so I'm just matching that. It's not the ideal scenario, but it does work pretty good. Pretty common. You can find these in most places. It's a simple process. A simple procedure, provides a lot of adjustment and being able to open the gate or close it. You can see how much thread there is there. That gives you a lot of space to open and close the gaps if the wall moves over time. All right, and it works just like that. All right, now you could flip that one bolt around the other way, and that would prevent it from lifting up. However, this situation is secure. This fence is in the backyard, so it doesn't need to do that. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this. It's a simple procedure here, a simple little gate and a side panel. It's something that hopefully you can do on your own. This thing got powder coated and got installed, and turned out pretty good. Don't forget to check out the website at jimbosgarage.com for torch lead holders, table dogs, and miscellaneous items. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next week.
See you next time on Jimbo's Garage.